We never had children. 60 years of marriage, and it's just been the two of us. We got married in 1965 in her mama's backyard in Memphis. I was 22. She was 19. Didn't know anything about nothing. I just knew I loved this woman and wanted to spend my life with her. And I have, 60 years. But I need to tell you something before you click away. There's a hole in this house, a quiet that wasn't supposed to be here. And the mistakes we made, the reasons we're sitting here alone, I don't want you to make them too.
When Harold says we never had children, people assume we couldn't or that we didn't want them. The truth is more complicated than that and more painful. We wanted them. At least I know I did. But we kept waiting. We kept thinking there was more time. And by the time we stopped waiting, time had stopped waiting for us.
So these 5 mistakes we're about to share, these aren't things we read in a book. These are things we lived, things that cost us. And maybe if someone had sat us down 60 years ago and told us what we're about to tell you, that empty room upstairs would have been a nursery.
I was the one who kept saying, not yet. I wanted us to be stable first. I wanted the house to be ready, the savings account to be bigger, Harold's career to be more secure. I had this picture in my head of what our life needed to look like before we brought a child into it. And every year, something wasn't quite right. The timing was off. There was always a reason to wait just a little longer.
And I went along with it. I didn't push back like I should have. Part of me was scared too. Scared I wouldn't be a good father. Scared of the responsibility. So when Delores said, let's wait, I said, okay, every single time. And the years kept passing.
My sister had 4 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment. I used to feel sorry for her. Thought she was being irresponsible, having babies when she could barely make rent. But you know what she had that I didn't? She had faith that she'd figure it out. And she did. Those kids are grown now, good people. She's got grandchildren running around her house every Sunday. And I'm over here in my quiet, perfect house that was never quite perfect enough to feel.
Perfect conditions don't exist. We spent 20 years waiting for something that was never going to come. And by the time we realized that, Delores was 45, and the doctor was telling us what we didn't want to hear. Don't wait for perfect. Perfect is a trap.
Back when we were young, there was this idea floating around that having children was optional, that you could have a fuller life without them. More freedom, more money, more time for yourself. And we had friends, educated people, successful people, who told us we were smart for waiting, smart for focusing on our careers. They made us feel like we were doing the sophisticated thing.
And we believed them. We thought we were being modern, progressive. We looked at couples with kids and thought, that's not going to be us. Stressed out, broke, no time for anything. We were going to do it different. We were going to live.
But here's what those friends didn't tell us. Some of them ended up having children later, and it was the best thing that ever happened to them. Some of them didn't, and they're just as lonely as we are now. Freedom doesn't visit you in the hospital. Freedom doesn't call on your birthday.
Be careful who you take advice from. Everybody's got opinions about how you should live your life, but most people are just guessing. They don't know any more than you do, and some of them are going to give you advice that serves their choices, not yours. Just because someone sounds smart doesn't mean they're right.
If your heart is telling you something and the world is telling you something different, listen to your heart. I didn't, and I've regretted it for 40 years.
I was ambitious. I wanted to be somebody, grew up poor, watched my father work himself to death for nothing, and I swore that wasn't going to be me. So I climbed, took every promotion, worked every overtime shift, did everything I could to move up, and I did. I had a good career, retired with a pension, respect, all of it.
I had my career too. I was proud of what I built, still am in some ways. But when I look back now, I gave my best years to a job that replaced me 6 months after I retired. They had a little party, gave me a cake, and then someone else was sitting at my desk, like I'd never been there.
That's the thing about work. You're replaceable. The minute you leave, the machine keeps running without you. But to a child, to a family, you're not replaceable. You're the only father they'll ever have, the only mother. And we traded that for job titles and retirement accounts.
I'm not saying don't work. I'm not saying don't have ambition. But know what you're sacrificing. Know what you're trading. Because I traded something I can never get back for something that didn't even remember my name 5 years later.
We always thought we had more time. Tomorrow, next year, after this promotion, after that vacation, after we pay off the house. There was always a later, and later felt infinite when we were 30.
But later comes fast. One day you're 35 saying, maybe next year. Then you're 40 saying, we should really start trying. Then you're 45 and a doctor is using words like unlikely and options. And you realize all those next years added up to no years left.
Time is not on your side. I don't care how young you are right now, how much life you think is ahead of you. That window for certain things, it closes. And it doesn't send you a warning. It doesn't tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, this is your last chance. It just closes. And you're on the other side of it wondering what happened.
We've been on this side for almost 40 years now. 40 years of knowing we waited too long. 40 years of watching other people's grandchildren grow up. 40 years of holidays that are too quiet. Don't let that be you. If there's something you want, something that matters, don't assume you'll get to it later. Later is a lie.
It's hard to admit. We never said what we truly wanted, because that silence could have changed everything.
For years, I didn't tell Harold how badly I wanted a baby. I'd hint at it. I'd mention it casually. But I never sat him down and said, this is what I need. This is what my heart is aching for. I was scared. Scared he'd say no. Scared he'd feel pressured. So I stayed quiet and hoped he'd bring it up.
And I wanted kids too. But I thought Delores was happy waiting. She seemed so focused on her career, on our plans, on doing things the right way. I figured if she wanted to start a family, she'd say so. So I waited for her to say something, and she waited for me to say something, and neither one of us ever did.
Two people who wanted the same thing, and we never told each other. Not really. Not in a way that made it clear this wasn't optional. This was essential. By the time we finally had that conversation, really had it, it was too late.
That's the tragedy of our marriage. Not that we disagreed, not that one of us wanted kids and the other didn't, We both wanted them, and we were both too scared, or too proud, or too something to say it out loud, until the chance was gone.
So talk to each other. I mean, really talk. Not hints, not maybes, not waiting for the other person to read your mind. Say the thing. Say it clearly. Say it now. Because you might be sitting next to someone who wants exactly what you want, and neither of you knows it.
Let me run through those mistakes one more time. Waiting for perfect conditions. They don't exist. Stop waiting. Listening to the wrong voices. Be careful who you let into your decisions. Putting career before family. Jobs forget you, family doesn't. Assuming there's always more time. There isn't. The window closes. And lastly, not saying what you really want. Speak up before it's too late.
That's why we're telling you this. Not for pity. Not because we want you to feel sorry for us, but because we're 82 and 79 years old. And if our regret can save you from yours, then at least something good came from it.
If this meant something to you, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Someone who keeps saying next year. Someone who's waiting for the perfect time.
And tell us in the comments, what are you putting off? What conversation do you need to have?
Subscribe if you want more of these. We've got 60 years of lessons. Might as well share them while we still can.
We're not going to be here forever.
No, we're not. So we're saying what we can while we can.
Thank you for listening.
We'll see y'all next time.